Hi guys, my name's SJ. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I am a parenting vlogger based in Surrey in the UK. It is festive Christmas holidays here in the UK, and I was just really thinking about my favourite movie of all time, The Sound of Music, and decided to have a real geek out on YouTube and basically chat to you guys about the real story of the Von Trapp family singers and the real story of that movie. If you, like me, watch The Sound of Music every single Christmas, it's shown in the UK and in the US, I know, every single Christmas. It's become a huge part of like that sort of time of year, hasn't it? But for me, it's become a huge part of my life, really weirdly enough. So I'm going to start by telling you a bit about my personal story of The Sound of Music, and then tell you, some facts about the movie and how it came to be, and about what happened with the beautiful Julie Andrews playing the real life character of Maria Von Trapp, and then how the film differs from the reality, because these were a real family who originally, it was based on a book that Maria wrote, which was published in Germany, which was then turned into a play, then a Broadway show, and eventually a Hollywood movie featuring Julie Andrews that we all know and love today, which they saw none of the proceeds of. So isn't it crazy? I'm wearing my Maria hat in case you hadn't noticed. I got this hat from the charity shop this summer, and it just, to me, is my Maria Von Trapp hat. And I think the biggest thing that this movie has given me has been the song I Have Confidence. That song has literally come into play in my life so many times. I wasn't the most confident person growing up, and I'm still not. And whenever I feel nervous, which is all the time, or anxious, I go back to those lyrics and that song, and her spirit in that song just is my favourite thing of all time. Sometimes just looking at the picture of it makes me go, yeah, I can do this. And I think that's why the character of Maria really hit my heart when I was a tiny little girl. I remember watching it. I remember lying on the floor, literally remember, I think it was Christmas, we had the Christmas lights on, I had this tub of Quality Street chocolates, and I couldn't have been very old. And I just fell in love with it, and I used to get up early every single morning and watch it before school. And I even watched it in 2 of my labours, because I have 3 children, and the first one is then called Frederick, which is the eldest son in the movie, so, which we didn't put the link together, weirdly enough. But yeah, I think that for me, Maria, her character was like me. I'm very much of like a sort of a dreamer. I sort of live in my own mind a lot of the time, and like to be like free-spirited, and if something takes me, an idea or a thought, I kind of just can go off with it. And I also felt a little bit of an outsider, and I think a lot of us do, don't we, growing up? And Maria was a bit of an outsider, a bit of a dreamer. She was obviously a real tomboy, and that was also Maria in real life, and I've read her real book. And a lot of the anecdotes in the movie at the beginning are real. Like, she did used to like slide down the banisters, climb a lot of trees, and rip her dress. She used to kiss the floor when she saw someone coming just to save her time. And she was quite a quirky character. And I loved that about Maria. But I think it was the beginning bit when she gets sent off and she's just not sure, and her life is taking kind of a different direction. And she has to steel herself and say to herself, you know, I can do this, and I can be brave, and I'm going to go in there and be myself. And she says, you know, I have confidence in me. Obviously she says that, but I love it. You know, strength doesn't lie in numbers, doesn't lie in wealth. When you wake up, and I will be firm and kind. And I think that her whole personality and her whole style when she goes into the house of just being so non-judgmental, she just accepted them all for who they were. And when she says to Lisa, we'll just be friends then, because you don't need a governess. I loved that response, and I just felt her ability to change obviously everything into a game and a song to get through the tough times is how I parent now. Literally, I'm a real playful mum, and I believe in all of that. And it's just come directly from that movie and into my life. And the movie means a huge amount to me. It really, really does. It's been there, as I said, since I was a tiny little girl, and it still inspires me today. Let me know if it's the same for you. I would love to know how you discovered the movie, what it means to you, your favourite songs. And yeah, then I realised I moved to Surrey about a year ago and discovered that this is where Julie Andrews grew up. I just can't believe it. So the next video I'm going to do, because I don't think I'll put it in this one, I'm actually going to do a little bit of a pilgrimage, because I know exactly where her house is. And I've actually been to where her house is without knowing it was there, because one of my friends lives there, and she apparently has some written history from around the area about Julie Andrews' early days here. So I'm really, really excited to go and do that. But first I wanted to tell you a bit about the movie. So I should say, if you do like the sound of music, that video is going to be coming out. Don't forget to hit subscribe to my channel. I just do parenting videos as well for the rest of the week, and I would love to have you here. I'm a bit of a geek because I also do baby name videos, and now I do sound of music videos. So yeah, not the coolest person on the block, am I? But yeah, so the movie, the Von Trapp family singers were a real group, and the story is quite accurate in that Maria was a young woman living in the nunnery. She was, as we talked about, this crazy character, and then there was the real Von Trapp family with Georg. They had 10 children in total, but she was originally hired just for, there were 7 children when he was widowed, and there was one daughter named Maria as well. Maria was chosen to go and be her governess because she had a teaching background, and also she wasn't very well, and being indoors all the time at the Abbey wasn't doing her well, so she was always rushing off to the mountains, as we know. She was chosen to be governess just for Maria. Went into the family home, and his character is apparently the most changed and the most thing that the family was upset about. He wasn't such a strict military guy in the home. The home was very musical already when Maria got there, and he was much more warm and loving than he's depicted in the movie. Maria did have this huge passion for music, and she did teach the children the do, re, mi and how to sing really, really properly, and took them from kind of like a family that loved music and singing into more of that training. And obviously the family did completely bond. They all really loved Maria. I love the real quote from the real Maria Von Trapp. He said she fell in love with the children at first sight, and yeah, she believed she was there for those children, and they were the loves of her life. She didn't actually fall in love with Georg. He fell in love with her very early on, as we also know from the movie, and he asked her to marry him, but the words that he used apparently was, "Please would you be a second mother to my children?" And I'm such an emotional geek, and she apparently said that if he had asked her any other way, she may have said no, because she wasn't actually in love with him, but she loved those children. And she says as time went on, she did of course fall in love with him, and they went on to have 3 more children of their own. So the children's names and ages were all changed, and I will let you know their real names because I'm a baby name expert. Actually, I have a job as a baby name expert here in the UK, so it's always really interesting to me to hear their real names. The real Von Trapp children's names were Rupert, Agatha, which was the name of their mother, who sadly died of scarlet fever and left a huge hole in all of their lives, Maria, who Maria went to be the governess for, Werner, Hedwig, which is a girl's name, Joanna, Martina. That was the original 7. And yeah, Maria and Georg got married. Apparently the wedding scene in the movie, when the family had a preview of the movie, was the real Maria Von Trapp's favourite moment, and apparently she stood up and just went up to the screen to watch it. I guess in their real wedding maybe wasn't as grand as that. I used to always feel a bit sad that they used to sing The Problem Like Maria when she came down the aisle for some reason. Did you? I always used to think that was slightly mean, and I wish they'd had a beautiful song there, because I would have loved to have walked down the aisle to a Sound of Music song, but I wouldn't have had that one. So yes, they went on to have their own children, and they had a Rosemary, an Eleanor, and a Johannes. And Johannes was actually born in the US, so he's an American citizen. So they got married, Maria and Georg, and they were living in Austria still. And then the historical background to the movie is all very real. They were by then quite a well-known troupe of singers. Financial times were quite bad, and they had a reverend called Franz who was helping them and aiding them, rather than the Uncle Max character that we have in the movie. I'm not sure if the Baroness was a real person. I know that the Baroness actress was actually very famous, and she was put into the movie for that bit of star quality because Julie Andrews wasn't yet very famous. She nearly didn't get cast as the part of Maria. They had to actually play the producers' rushes of a new movie she was about to be in called Mary Poppins to convince them that she could play this role, and they loved her obviously from Mary Poppins. She was slightly worried about being a nanny in 2 films. I think there was also one in the middle where she was a nanny in all 3 and was worried about getting typecast. But the characters are so very different, aren't they? I keep flitting around, I hope that's okay. So yes, they were living together. They had become more of a professional dancing troupe with Maria's guidance, and apparently Georg wasn't too sure about that because he just had a protection of his family being up on stage, but it became their thing because times were tight. They had to get rid of all the staff, and it was something that was really important to them as a family. They were good at it, and they were touring. But then the Nazis were there, and apparently they did refuse to play at Hitler's birthday party, and and they weren't too popular, that they didn't flee over the mountains in the dead of night with all of their things. They decided to leave the country because they were unhappy with the situation. It didn't feel like a safe place for their family either. But they were invited to America to tour based on their musical fame locally. So that's what they did. They went to America. When they got to America, they were then very well known in America. They were a touring family, the Von Trapp family singers, and they carried on that. They ran music programs in their farm. Imagine going to like their music workshop. It's like how incredible that that was somebody's experience. And they did all of that. They had a guest house there, the Von Trapp guest house, and one of my viewers actually said she was related to one of them, which, yeah, if you're here, please let us know everything. And then their last son Johannes was born there. Maria and the girls then had American citizenship and applied for that. And that became their life. After Georg died in America, again, Maria was left with the 10 children by herself. She seems to be a very, very, very strong woman, which I love. For all of her kind of scattiness and creativity, it comes with this backbone of strength. She is not a walkover. And yeah, I really relate to that as well, because I feel like even though I do have this creativity, like I can hold my own, and I'm ambitious and I have goals and I go after them. And she was the same, and so she decided to write her story. She sold the publishing rights to a German publisher, but inadvertently sold away her rights then, because it was then made into a play that we then made into the Broadway show and then made into the movie. And the first Maria heard about this apparently was in a newspaper, that it was being made into a Hollywood movie. She was very concerned. She was like, they're going to have me twice divorced, they're going to really change us. So she was invited to the set where she met Julie Andrews, and did you know she actually has a cameo in the movie? So I will pop a little picture here of where she is in the movie and her meeting Julie Andrews, who she loved. Apparently she was so happy with the Julie Andrews casting because she was like a bit of a tomboy, and she didn't take it all too seriously, and she was really happy with that. She has a beautiful quote saying that she was very wild and untamed as a child, and she was happy that the casting wasn't too ladylike. And apparently she grew up, she had quite a tough, she was an orphan, and she grew up in a bit of an abusive childhood, and she was not brought up religious, found religion herself and then converted. So her character is just really fascinating, and I love the fact that she makes this cameo in the movie. The movie itself was Roger and Hammerstein movie. It was actually their last ever one, and it's the third highest grossing movie of all time if you take into account, you know, like money changing over the period of time. So it was a huge success. There was lots of talk that Christopher Plummer didn't like the movie, but he was kind of like a Shakespearean actor, and I think he was nervous that making this lightweight musical was a little bit beneath him and a bit silly. So, but Julie Andrews says they are really great friends now, and he's not really like that. It was more kind of like a bit of like bravado to make sure that, you know, people still took him seriously after doing a bit of a romantic love story movie. Julie Andrews herself, obviously just amazing as Maria. She had just become a mum herself, so she had her young daughter with her. The movie overran by about 3 weeks, and she said she was getting up extremely early looking after her baby. Like, what an amazing woman. Like, I literally can't wait to chat about her history a little bit more with you guys. If you'd like to see that video, let me know. If you're like, SJ, you'll just talk to yourself about that because no one's interested. But yeah, I just think that she's fascinating. You know, she's done so much with her career, and she was obviously on set with all the children. One really famous moment, they kept in a lot of her little quirks. So when she falls over in the I have confidence bit when she's running towards the house, she just fell over and they just kept it in. So they liked all those little rough around the edges bits. There's a famous scene, you know, when they all fall out of the boat. She was supposed to fall forward and grab the little actress Kim, who played Gretel, and help her because she was only 5 and she couldn't swim. But sadly, she actually fell backwards. Julie Andrews, the boat just tipped her backwards. So all the crew had to jump in and rescue little Kim, who took on a lot of water. So yeah, she said that was a really terrifying moment during filming as well. But overall, the filming experience, I think they all got on super duper well. It was 6 months of filming, so the children developed a lot. Their costumes had to be changed. Apparently Frederick grew like 9 inches, and they had to have like things in everyone else's shoes to keep the height continuity going. So yeah, that is a little bit about The Sound of Music, the real story, and how it differs to the movie version that we all know and love. If you would like more videos about The Sound of Music, it would probably just be one, a little bit more of a Julie Andrews movie, because yeah, I'm just going to go and do this little pilgrimage down to her house and let you know all about it and a bit more about her history. Then do hit subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon. Bye guys.